Welcome back to Business Owners Speak. Today I'm thrilled to have with us Jonathan Galui with Blue Guardian Network. Jonathan, how are you today?
Doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, really happy that you were able to take some time to join us. So if you could get us started with telling us a little bit about you and the business.
Uh, Thanks, Matt. So our organization was founded roughly 3 years ago, and our main focus is investing in our first responders, specifically law enforcement officers, from a mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical perspective. And what we are trying to accomplish is adding value to these men and women who choose to serve in a industry and a job that is pretty intense to begin with, let alone the scrutiny that it goes through. Not only that, we are kind of taking the position as a bridge between the community and the departments themselves. So what we believe is that empowering first responders to find peace within themselves, there's a ripple effect that goes out into the community. And so our industries are overwhelmed with their daily activities of either nursing, providing fire services, or law enforcement services. And what we have found is no one's really investing in the actual individual that has chosen to do this job outside of their practical application. And that's where we step in. So my background, a little bit about me, is I'm born and raised here in Palm Beach County. I was an athlete growing up, went on to play Division I baseball at Jacksonville University, followed by a couple different career paths, being in corporate America, owning my own business, but also where this all stems from was my experience in law enforcement, where I was a West Palm Beach cop for just shy of 5 years.
Very cool. And when did that run end of you being an officer?
So I was an officer between 2010 and 2015.
Okay. Interesting. And then you mentioned owning a business prior to that as well. What was that?
Yeah, I opened up a CrossFit gym.
Okay.
Very expensive hobby, let's just put it that way.
Understood. So I'm curious, what part of your time as law enforcement and did some specific things kind of happen that opened your eyes to the need for this type of business?
Yes, so back in 2010, there really was no talk about mental health or well-being, especially within the first responder community. And I went through my own personal journey. Growing up here, we were always told kind of two things, right, in Palm Beach County. One, you don't go on Tamarind Avenue because you don't belong for obvious reasons. And two, you don't go on to Palm Beach Island because you don't belong for obvious reasons. Well, I found myself on Tamarind Avenue in uniform, and my personal experience, I saw things that I never thought actually existed in this world. And so through a series of personal experiences out on the streets, but also within my department, both personal and legal, I faced a civil rights case at some point and eventually was forced to resign. And that basically led me down this journey to find a way to support these men and women and to not make them or not have them feel like they're going at this alone. And so there's a slogan inside of law enforcement specifically of no one likes a bad cop more than a good cop. It's really hard to fight these days, given the structure that the system has created. So by filling the gap and investing in these men and women, right, the goal is to prevent that from happening. And we want the best of the best out there. We want them to be healthy. We want them to be clear-minded. We want them to be able to make decisions that are authentic and with intention. And as we all have seen, and as we all know, law enforcement does not have time to think, right? A lot of the time it's complete reaction or response, and based off of your mental well-being, it plays out. And so from personal experience and not having any resources or the resources that were available at that time, we're very limited. And so we've made great strides as an industry, but there's more to do. There's more work to be done, and everybody knows that. And so there's no there's no perfect answer, there's no perfect solution, but there is a path that we can go to enhance and add value to what is currently in place.
So, and that's what I want to dive into. Tell us about the services that Blue Guardian Network offers.
So we are an educational platform that has a variety of resources available to you that you can either use through our platform, or if they're already available through your department, such as therapy, pastoral, and peer-to-peer, what we call coaching. And the education piece is designed to basically look at yourself in the mirror, and throughout that process, expose anything that isn't allowing you to be the best version of yourself. And you get to choose, as the officer, which avenue you want to take. You get to choose whether you want to work with a coach. All the coaches have put the uniform on, so police officers will be matched with police officers, firefighters with firefighters. But because it's removed from the actual department, there is no judgment, there is no fear, because we have no connection to taking away your badge. There's no punitive actions that we can take, which is a game changer for our industries. With regards to the counseling dynamic, there is a large variety and a large network of counselors out there. And what we have found is that working together in tandem, it creates an enhanced experience for the first responder. Now, you might have a department psychologist that the department has worked with, or you might go out and find a private one, or you can use one of ours, right? We have resources where you can work with them. And then third and finally, there is a faith or a spiritual component to this. It doesn't matter to us really what faith or higher power you follow. And so what matters is that you get that higher perspective. We have chaplains, we have pastors, we have all of the above for you. But if you have one personally, then by all means use it. And what we have found is that by using actually the men and women that have taken advantage of using all three to their advantage have found some amazing breakthroughs in their personal life, which has then carried over into their professional life.
That's amazing. And what a great cause. And the ripple effects, right, of healthy and clear-minded officers benefit everybody. So in terms of engagement, right? So you mentioned it's the individuals coming from first responding type positions. Do you have partnerships with the forces themselves, or is it all individual based and they need to come to you to find those services?
As of now, it's designed that they have to find us and come to us individually, but that's not our mission. Our mission is to actually work with departments and to create a game plan for that specific community to move forward in enhancing the overall experience. And so that has been, as you could probably tell, not an easy feat to climb or to overcome. And that's currently where we're at right now. It's very easy to stay where you're at, and it's really difficult and challenging to get outside your comfort zone. And no fault to our departments or the system is to being hesitant to bringing in something like this because of the attacks that are faced and because of the challenges that our politics and our news have created for our heroes. These are our heroes that are here on boots on ground. They're not overseas. They are fighting for safety and service every single day. So that's currently where we're at. We want to work with departments. We want to work with communities, hence the bridge dynamic to it, because that's truly the only way to change anything moving forward. If we just did individual officers meal piece throughout Palm Beach County or throughout the country, nothing is going to change. And unfortunately, there will always be this dynamic of people don't want to be held accountable. And that's exactly what our first responders represent. We represent accountability more than authority. And we just have the ability to enforce authority, but we want to make sure that that's directed in the right way.
Sure. So as you're working to, hopefully get to the point with some of those partnerships, what are some of the actions you're doing as a company to expose the brand and let other first responders know that you're there, you're available, and you have services and processes that could certainly help them?
Right now, it's just a matter of networking and getting the word out. It's a slow crawl, honestly, because it's so polarizing, and there's a lot of fear around it. So it's a lot of word of mouth. It's talking to a lot of business owners and leaders in the community, just to expose them to the possibilities that are available. And hopefully, in due time, God willing, somebody will take that leap of faith. A chief or a sheriff will take a leap of faith, and obviously, because I'm from Palm Beach County, I would love for our local leaders to band together and look at this. But as of right now, that has not, unfortunately, has not happened.
Okay. And what is your talk about the team itself? What's the structure of your business look like?
So it's an officer's choice type dynamic, and what it looks like is there's a 12 course curriculum that is broken down into bite-sized pieces, right? What we tell everybody we work with is, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. And so the way it's structured is we provide an hour of curriculum once every 2 to 3 weeks. Once you get the curriculum, you then go out and you apply it in your life, again at home or in uniform. And then you work with one of those three dynamics and just basically mentor how that have showed up or how that appeared in your life. What we have found is it's created lifelong friendships outside of the actual curriculum, where there's a safe place for these men and women to go to. So our program is done in about 6 months, as opposed to the traditional way of mental health within these dynamics of just basically making you drink from a fire hose for 40 hours straight. And if you talk to any mental health professional, any leadership, any coaching group, any performance group, we don't even want to deal with 40 hours of this type of curriculum. And so, because we are so limited to the time available to these men and women, it has to be done in the confines of their own homes. It's got to be done in a safe, intimate place, right, where they can go about it on their own pace.
Sure.
And so you get the education followed by the coaching or the counseling and the practical application. And what our aim with that is ownership without accountability creates entitlement. And so everybody needs an accountability partner. Look at the gym dynamic, right? We all know that if you work out with somebody else and you hold someone else accountable, it actually puts you accountable at the same time. And so there's there's kind of a double dip or a double-edged sword. And so the men and women of the coaching dynamic get to actually give back to their communities, right? The ones that are actually doing the same job they are. So we've seen a pretty beautiful flywheel approach to this.
Yeah. What about, is there opportunities for community amongst your first responders? So if they're kind of siloed in doing one of the three aspects in the comfort of their home, is there ever an opportunity for them to be together, to understand that there's others utilizing your services and potentially kind of work together to move through the programs?
On a small scale right now, it's all word of mouth, but obviously the hope is that that can grow exponentially. And because our program is so outside the box and no one else is really doing it to the extent that we are, it's been a slow crawl. And so we haven't been able to get any of these larger organizations like the unions on board, because of the fact that some of them don't think that anything is wrong. Some of these chiefs and sheriffs think, well, I got to this point and I'm okay, but that doesn't mean that the people that are working there now are. And so we have to really look at this from a full perspective, not just a personal perspective.
Sure.
And I think that's one of the limiting factors in an organization like mine and in mental health, is because law enforcement, fire, and nursing touches everyone and everything. It's really hard to grasp this larger concept unless you've actually served or been in that position. Very similar to the military. The only difference is these men and women shop at the same grocery stores. They go to the same gas stations. Their kids play at the same youth organizations, schools, etc. And so we need to honestly stop looking at the programs that were designed for military and really start focusing on programs that are designed specifically for these industries themselves.
So as you look towards the future, obviously partnering with departments seems to be an important focus. And what's interesting about it is someone, that's just a citizen. Of course, I think your services make a ton of sense, right? And I'm sure most people would agree that we want our first responders in a great mindset and feeling healthy and feeling confident, like they have support. It's just interesting that that can be such an overwhelming feeling for one side, but you're running into a little bit of resistance on the other. And so as you work through that and kind of continue to try to break down those walls, are you looking to expand? Are you covering other states? Is this, what's kind of the future look like for Blue Guardian?
Yeah, the beautiful thing about this is there's no brick and mortar.
Right.
We meet you where you're at. And so if you are in Texas, we can deliver the curriculum online, and you can then be coached by a peer that is from New York or Michigan. So we have division of church and state, if you would. And because of the technology that we have, is these resources can be delivered nationwide in a very impactful way. That is where we're at now. Is we're in the process of raising funds and developing partnerships to develop this to be a complete online program specifically for rookie law enforcement firefighters and nurses going into the culture.
Sure.
Now, the sticking point is always financials, right? And this is an investment into the well-being of the people that are going to be interacting with your children, your grandchildren. And so if we invest in this now, the payout or the return on investment might not be seen until our grandchildren. But what we know is that the current state cannot stay where it's at for our grandkids. And as a father of 2 young children and someone that's been in the system and has seen it from a perspective that many of us have seen it, we have an obligation to, at the very least, expose these men and women to this information and this mindset perspective shift that hasn't been provided up into this time. And that's okay. It's not a fault. It's just we need to take it to the next level. And the community plays a huge part in that. Would we love for every chief and sheriff to jump on board with this and where there's no cost to them? Okay, this is the kind of the key thing is there's no cost to the department, and getting them on board would be the ideal solution to try it at the very least. What could it hurt? But in this process, if they're not willing to take it on board, then the more business owners and the more business like-minded people from the community can band together and bring this to their proverbial cities and communities. Again, not the ideal way of doing it, but if it has to be, then it has to be.
Yep. So as someone that's owned a couple of businesses and trying to get this one advanced, can you maybe provide some other small business owners some words of wisdom that you've picked up along the way?
Yeah, be true to yourself, get crystal clear on your mission, get crystal clear on your purpose and your passion behind what you're doing, and fully commit to it. Regardless of what roadblocks come in front of you, regardless of what is thrown at you, when you have your purpose, when you have your mission, and it is truly something that you are dedicated to, and it's something that you've embodied, then nothing will throw you off track. And things are going to come at you. That's just life, right? And so if you do not have a solid foundation of who you are as an individual, let alone as an organization, it's going to be really hard to navigate those storms, especially if you're doing something that's trying to impact the world, impact a culture, impact a sector that can make a big change in the world.
Yeah. Great advice, and what a wonderful cause. Jonathan Galui, really appreciate your time today. And I think I speak for all citizens where we hope you make some progress in providing services for our first responders. Nothing much more important than that. So Blue Guardian Network, thank you so much for your time, and we wish you the best of luck.
Thanks, Matt. I appreciate you having me today.